Nice Shorts theme song.
Nice shorts. Yeah.
Kheyal, Isaac, thank you so much for joining us today and congratulations on PFCAT. That's cool.
Thank you.
Really honored to be here.
You should be. No. So
Yeah.
how did you two meet?
We both went to Emory, in Atlanta, and we met at like a film meetup, like a few days before classes.
And it's like it couldn't be more of like a storybook. It was an intro to film class, and we sat next to each other because we like vaguely met at this like at the meetup right beforehand. So, and then we ended up sitting together every single, time for that class, and we're in the same friend group and all of that throughout.
And
Mhm.
Wow.
it hasn't changed because you were on FaceTime right before you got in here. So you two like literally meet up right before an event and then just like go
Yeah.
in together.
We're kind of
Yeah.
a unit at this point. And during so the pandemic, lockdown hit during our first year of undergrad, and
Oh,
all of our friends, everyone you'd met in that first crazy semester of undergrad, like they went away. But we happened to live like pretty close to each other, like a 10-minute drive, and we didn't know. So then during the pandemic, we were like the only friends that we had. And so we hung out a lot, and that's when we started making films together. And so that really solidified the friendship, I think.
were they stop motion projects?
The first few that we worked on actually weren't. So Isaac knew that he wanted to, well, I don't want to speak for you too much, but you like knew you were going to go into film. So he had some live action projects that I acted in one, and you kind of had
And
brought me.
also do the music for it.
Oh, yeah.
And then during COVID, I think it was we were both made more of the switch into animation then. I think we talked about stop motion at some point as like a common interest, but it wasn't something we were actively doing in our first year of university. So COVID was the time. I think there was a competition coming up to make like a film in 1 week, Campus Movie Fest. And so we like several months before that started, we were like talking about, wanting to work on something together, and that blossomed into our first full project together. So like our first real like co-director project was a full stop motion film.
Why don't you tell us about your film?
Yes, this is called Wizarding Woes.
This is the first project we came to, like, after graduating from undergrad, no longer being in the same place, and we're like still wanting to like do something together. We were doing a
I
train
thought
from New York to New Jersey through that very long drive and exploring there. We just started like brainstorming or talking about an idea, and it was, I think, very, very different at the start. But it was kind of the seed of the idea of doing a magical, web series.
And I think also part of it came from, as we were thinking about the development, Isaac and I both were working for our thesis films. They were both like deeply personal, deeply emotional topics that dealt with ideas of like grief and death and colonialism and oppression. And so we had like all of these very serious, very important stories that we wanted to tell. And we thought, on the other hand, we also want to practice writing these really fun short episodes. And it was also at the same time that like smaller stop motion shows were getting kind of popular on social media. And so that kind of influenced us. And yeah, so then we spent the year kind of writing different episode ideas. And because of Isaac's project that he's on at the moment, he's doing a lot of traveling. I'm doing my MFA. So we're both very busy, but we knew that, this is something we can develop while we're in different places in the world and also like just in our own career journeys, and then come together and kind of create the pilot episode and just see how it does. So that's what this film is. It's that pilot episode of, many like a year or so of development, and we were finally in the same place at the same time and could really like get it done and truly like collaborate together like we did in undergrad.
And I think another aspect too was this initial feeling of like with everything that's coming out online in terms of, content and AI generated stuff, we felt like we wanted to really go towards the, more in our own art form of stop motion, the more, traditional, and try to keep some of that alive and keep a space also for when we end up posting it for it to be a place where people can, come to and find spark a little bit of joy at like how much time and the handcrafted nature of everything. So I think that kind of led us to developing kind of, okay, what types of character would actually like invoke this feeling of like peace amidst all of the chaos, like when you're scrolling through your feed. And so it got us to like thematically an old man who's in retirement. I think there's building it actually a lot more around that character and like the type of person that we wanted to show. Someone who was kind, someone who's maybe a little bit silly, someone who wanted to like help out the neighboring, animals around him.
Each episode kind of functions as a one-off like spell that he's learning or lesson that he's learning or something. But beyond it kind of being this like each episode is its own little story, we wanted to have overarching stories to kind of tie each like season and like larger character development together. And so one of the things we wanted to explore was, in retirement feeling lonely and disconnected from your family who now kind of has their own life. So that was us kind of planting the seeds for these when we do make it in the future, the rest of it. Kind of something to look back on.
Oh, I
Something,
look forward the sentiment part, like more
yeah.
and more will roll in.
Isaac and I knew that we wanted to have like this wizard and, this very like cutesy kind of character. And so it was really fun kind of designing him and figuring out, how are we going to like make his eyebrows and his beard and all that fun stuff. And I think for both of us, it was also important to make him feel like kind of real. Not necessarily like his look doesn't have to be real, but his personality and his feeling. And so we added like his little belly and we wanted to make him feel like that much more of a character. We had a really great team that we were able to like pull together of friends and classmates who helped bring a lot of the different elements to life. And one of those was like, yeah, how do we decorate the world? How do we think about, his universe? And for me, that's one of the most fun parts, like creating all these constraints and then seeing like what you can do. It's like, okay, well, we have to know his scale and how, what textures can we use? So that was a really fun part of it. And thinking about also like physically, when you're making stop motion, you have to have a good space to,
Mm.
do it in and how large is the set. And so the puppet himself, he's like 11 inches high, but the main base of his set is 4 feet by 8 feet. And so we were kind of like trying to create this massive forest, this massive sense of scale, and but also keeping like things looking tiny and having that like stop motion charm of being a miniature. So yeah, it was really fun like adding in details like the garden gnome and the little potted plants and the small little like the little door. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
To really build up this convincing universe that you could kind of envision the broader forest and just world that he lives in.
Yeah, so where is this production is built?
It's in my house. So I'm
Mhm.
very fortunate. Like my parents are, super supportive of my art and then my brother's music. And so we have some studio space in the house. So we have, you'll like this. We have like a whole music room with all of our instruments and all that stuff. And then we have another room that's dedicated for like arts and crafts. And so we were able
Wow.
to take over that room. We had some friends who lent us like professional lights and we were crammed and there wasn't that much space to move, but we're really grateful that we actually had a room and like a studio to be able to make it in.
I love it being at the parents' house, like having it's almost like being a kid having your friends come over and you're like making like the cool little thing together, but it's an actual like film. It's
Yeah.
cool.
He'd come over at like, 9 a.m. and then we'd be in there until like at least 9 p.m. every day. Like we were putting in long hours and then my parents would be like, "Oh, are you guys here? Like you're existing somewhere on the premises. We don't know. We just, lock ourselves up in there." And we were working on this timeline where we know like school's gonna start and
Mm.
Isaac has to travel again. So yeah, it was a very concentrated like 3.5, 4 weeks of work in that tiny room. But there's something so fun about that too.
Something that we both noticed in the credits that we're super curious about, 3D modeler and Unity. What
Yeah.
was 3D modeled and what was Unity used for?
3D modeling, I mean, that's partly what Kheyal was talking about earlier with having like the gnome, like these props were 3D modeled by an amazing team of 3D modelers that we had. And then the broader use of Unreal Engine is actually the background is our physical LED TVs. And so we recreated the background set instead of using green screens. We recreated an Unreal Engine and did like a mini virtual production set to like match the camera angles.
You're going Mandalorian status.
Yes.
Yes.
This is
Okay.
something that I kind of thought, okay, we're gonna just do green screen. I finally learned how to like kind of composite. This is what we're gonna get done. But Isaac and I had different approaches and kept saying, oh, but what if we did some kind of like LED background, something like immersive? And so I was kind of in the fabrication mindset. So I said, okay, yeah, yeah, like, figure if you can like figure something out, like sure, that sounds great. So he ended up coming up with this amazing system of getting these giant, like it was 85-inch TVs. And
There's the but he just I think just wanted an 85-inch TV after all this.
he ordered like a 100-inch ones too. They were giant.
Real,
He tested all these
I
different.
would.
Not all the budget.
How big is the
So
room?
We had to like take it apart to get it up the stairs. Oh, it was so bad.
Oh,
We had to borrow
Yeah.
someone's truck and then like lash it to the cars to get it from his house to mine.
Yeah, it was a TV testing process because Kheyal is the amazing fabricator who pretty much created pretty much all the physical props that you see. And I specialize a bit more on like the camera side of things, camera and lighting. So we kind of split up off things like that. So I was ordering multiple sets of TVs, testing them out, making very good use of Amazon's like Christmas, refund policy where they extend it for 60 days instead of the typical 30 days. So
oh,
we ended up ordering, I think, 5 different TVs, testing them out, picking the 2 that we actually did want, bringing them, and then in the end, returning all of them.
Not because you used them, but because they weren't quite right anyway.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
gotta
exactly.
find
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I like so the live action person comes in with live action techniques. It's awesome.
Yeah, so I want to make sure I understand. It's like you build a further background environment and then show them on the TV screen, and then you have the beautiful physical sets as the midground, foreground,
Yeah.
and then you shoot that under the camera.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
what.
Okay. So
So
I have
cool.
2 new questions now then. First one, how did that mess with your coloring?
For the fabrication stuff for the like colors, we were kind of really locked in because people don't sell massive sheets of green felt, unfortunately, in like a variety of different shades and saturations and hues.
Yeah,
So
kids these
uh,
days.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we were kind of locked in with a lot of that. And I did the fabrication as part of my like coursework in the fall. So a lot of it was like kind of built over like a 10-week intensive course, like just making them. And so we had all the assets and it was kind of like Isaac would have to then like do the heavy lifting of making sure that the backgrounds and the lighting and everything made it all tied together.
Yeah, well, then the first couple days we're really setting it up, and then the actual final color matching was done with just including like a color transform within Unreal Engine. We'd like put a box around the grass and then just slowly tint it with looking at exactly how the camera was seeing it to make sure that in the end the camera actually it looked like the 2 grass colors matched with a
For anyone wanting to try this, was there a specific style of TV screen or anything that really worked better for it?
Yeah, I mean, the ideal thing is getting like an F full LED screen. There's only one that's kind of on the market for that I saw, which is like a Samsung TV. I forget the exact name. The only issue is it's $5,000. And we did order it. And then in the process of it coming, I was always hesitant about actually having that expensive of a TV, and like not being able to return it. We found a cheaper version that's like QLED, which is
Mhm.
doesn't get you like the full level of, like black values and brightness that you might want for like a full production. But we found that it was it was good enough for what we needed.
I really do adore you two because to trust him enough to try it, but like that's a lot. Like that, you're talking weeks of trying on a short time frame. Like you two really just give each other playroom. It's so cool.
Yeah, like I think a lot of like what makes working together well is we know each other's like areas of expertise and also areas of interest. So yeah, Isaac's so into the like lights, camera, that kind of technical stuff. And while I do enjoy it, I like my brain is so much more in the okay, get me behind, like I want to be like holding some wire. I want a hot glue gun in my hand, like let's do this. And so he definitely trusted me with making sure that like all of the set came together and that it would work and that the puppet was able to move correctly and he was tensioned correctly and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it was very easy to kind of trust him on all the setup side. And also we have a lot of camera moves in the short. And so that was also like an element of like, we had to plan before and Isaac did a lot of thinking about how we're going to do it. And it was like a big thing that we wanted to do. We wanted to have like moving camera shots, like practical, not done in post. And so, yeah, it was little things like that, like just making, we knew that, the other person was going to do their due diligence and really making sure that it was going to work for the final project.
I think there was a creative realization that we had during it because I think we had like this vision of what it would look like to have digital backgrounds and the physical thing. And we actually built out like a stylized 3D set for it. Like in our minds, we thought that keeping a stop motion style for the backgrounds was going to help it be cohesive. And then when we were doing like our initial setup like 2 weeks before filming, it was like, yeah, we
And the
were
setup was
doing
like
it
moved
and
in Blender. Like it was very much like meant to look like felt, like that kind of aesthetic. That's what we had behind the screen first.
Yeah, but when we were doing that, there was something that wasn't quite feeling right about those styles. Like, I mean, they were beautifully modeled trees, but like the way that the felt and it was also the coloring, and we knew like something felt off, but we weren't really sure what. And so we were still playing with a couple different styles. Um, and then as we were wrapping up to film that day, I was like closing out the program, and then suddenly like my my computer background popped up on the background of both the TVs, which is like I have a Mac and it's like the Mac Forest background.
Like
And it's
Redwood Forest.
very,
Yeah.
yeah. And suddenly we're like, whoa. It just, even though we didn't think about it, like having a realistic background, having like the details of the textures, but also I think it was the depth of the color and the shadows of the forest, that suddenly made it feel so much more alive and more natural. And so
Mm.
then we unfortunately had to scrap all the work that we did in Blender and then reset up everything to do a realistic environment. And in the process of that, ended up changing softwares from Blender to Unreal Engine because we knew Unreal Engine could handle that type of foliage more. So I think maybe the lesson to learn from that is like if you have the time, being okay with changing that creative vision and truly giving yourself also the time to feel that out. Because I think we were initially on a much more tight schedule trying to get everything done before like our winter break when we're visiting family over the holidays. And through the process of this and several other things too, we were like, actually, we think it'd be better to like give ourselves 2 weeks, give ourselves like a real break. Let's do all the pre-production, finish this, and then pick up with filming after the holidays. And I think that space is what really allowed the environment to be finished and was allowed also us to get more thoughts on the animatic and feedback and this and that. So it allowed us to come into the production with a lot more clearer minds in what we were going for, and also the confidence that we were getting the best version of what we could do.
Those happy accidents. So it feels in line with the fact that stop motion, you can see those little imperfections and like just happenstance moments. So
Yeah.
Yeah, another one is about the lighting in this film. It's so fuzzy and warm. Are you guys like achieve that on set or it's post help to levitate it a lot too?
The lighting, luckily, because the having the actual TVs on set, we were able to hone in all of the lighting pretty much in camera. So it's pretty much exactly how you see it in camera. I mean, the on the color grading side of things, we brought in more of a film LUT and a little bit of that blur and smear as well. But in terms of the core lighting design, we wanted to capture as much as we could there and to not have to mess with it after.
we had
Okay.
this like big kind of like cookie or gobo in front of like our main light, and every Isaac would be, it was just a piece of cardboard. Every shot, Isaac would go with an X-Acto knife, cutting out like a tiny sliver to get like a light hitting exactly one of the flowers. So while I would like set up the animation shot, I'd see how much like he spent so much time like really making sure and really like just composing every single frame. So there was a lot of that like practical in-camera lighting that he did.
When
Oh,
Isaac was done, did you ever just like scoot the flower over an inch?
That's so them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was more likely I accidentally bumped the light and then I was like, oh no, I need to like go back and change it. Yeah.
What was your favorite spell you came up with for the book?
In the short that, when you go and watch it, hopefully at the festival to the audience, there's a moment when he's flipping through the book, and we get to see some really charming ones that are wonderful, like our concept artist designed, like make levitation, obviously. We see like mushroom soup, but there's some more sinister spells. Briefly glance in the book. And so my favorite one, he might explore this later on. We'll see a spell for resurrecting the dead.
ooh, okay. Isaac, how about you?
Personally, I've always been a fan of mushroom stew, so I'd like
You're a foodie person?
any time of the day. Yeah, yeah.
Oh. Oh.